Hi, this is Huffcutt here. I have another Caldecott book to share with you. This one is from 1952. It's called Finders Keepers, and it was written by Will and Nicholas. No last names. This book is a little stiff. Finders Keepers. Two dogs were digging in the yard. One had a spot on his head. His name was Nap. The other had a spot on his tail. His name was Winkle. Scratch, 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 scratch. They never stopped digging for a minute. At last they found a bone. That bone is mine, said Nap. I saw it first. It's mine, said Winkle. I touched it first. A farmer drove by with a load of hay in his cart, bogged in a soft spot on the road. Let's ask the farmer, said Nap. Suits me, said Winkle. Whose bone is it, Mr. Haymaker? Nap's or mine? I touched it first. But I saw it first, said Nap. Just give a hand here at shoving my cart out of the rut, and I'll see what I could do, the farmer said. Nap and Winkle and the farmer and the horse pushed and pulled and pushed and pulled, and they hauled the cart out of the rut. Now tell us whose bone it is. Nap's or mine, said Winkle. Bone, said the farmer. Bone? Who cares about a bone? Here's something better than a bone, and he tossed them a forkful of hay. Nap and Winkle, they looked at the hay, and they didn't know what to do. Then along came a goat. Whose bone is it, Mr. Tufted-Chin, said Nap. Winkle's or mine? I saw it first. But I touched it first, said Winkle. Just let me take care of that nice bit of hay, said the goat, and I'll see what I can do. He chewed up every wisp of the hay, waggling his beard and looking very thoughtful. When the goat had shaken all the seeds out of his beard, Nap said, Now tell us whose bone it is, Winkle's or mine? Bone, said the goat. Bone? Who cares about a bone? I'll give you some good advice instead. Don't go chasing after a goat unless your teeth are sharper than his horns. And off he skipped, leaving them no wiser. Then Nap said, Let's go down the road a ways and see if we can't find somebody to decide between us. Suits me, said Winkle. They buried the bone and set off down the road. The first person they met was an apprentice barber. He was just learning how to cut hair and couldn't find anybody to practice on. Mr. Hair Trimmer, said Nap, Winkle and I found a bone. Whose should it be, his or mine? I saw it first. But I touched it first, said Winkle. Just let me trim your hair a bit to try my tools, and I'll see what I can do, said the barber. He went at Winkle's hair with his scissors, clipping and snipping while Nap looked on and smiled. Then Nap had his hair cut while Winkle looked on and smiled. The barber held his mirror up. Look at him. Suits me, said Winkle, holding himself very straight. Nap laughed. Not bad, said Nap, looking very solemn. This time Winkle laughed. But when they asked about the bone, the barber shrugged his shoulders and said, Bone? Who cares about a bone? Hair that is neat is better than meat. And he took up his bag of tools and off he went. Just then a big dog came ambling down the road. Nap and I found a bone, Mr. Longshank, said Winkle. Whose bone is it? Nap's or mine? I touched it first. But I saw it first, said Nap. That isn't easy to say, said the big dog, wagging his tail slowly. What sort of bone is it? Just an ordinary bone, said Nap. Well, said the big dog, wagging his tail a little faster, you'd better show the bone to me. Nap and Winkle dug up the bone, and the big dog looked at it. This is a nice little bone, said the big dog, and his tail went so fast you could hardly see it. I'll be glad to take care of it for you. He picked up the bone and started for the gate. Then Nap looked at Winkle, and Winkle looked at Nap. Winkle jumped at the big dog's head, Nap at his tail. And they bit and they slashed until the big dog dropped the bone and ran off yelping. Then Nap looked at Winkle, and Winkle looked at Nap. And Nap took one end of the bone, and Winkle took the other end of the bone, and they both chewed away at it together without another word. The end of Finders Keepers. This is another Caldecott winner, but it's more recent than some of the others we've shared. This one's from the year 2015, and it is called The Adventures of Beekle, the Unimaginary Friend by Dan Santat. He was born on an island far away where imaginary friends were created. Here they lived and played, each eagerly waiting to be imagined by a real child. Every night he stood under the stars, hoping for his turn to be picked by a child and given a special name. He waited for many nights, but his turn never came. His mind was filled with thoughts of all the amazing things that were keeping his friend from imagining him. So rather than waiting, he did the unimaginable. He sailed through unknown waters and faced many scary things, but thinking about his friend gave him the courage to journey on until he reached the real world. The real world was a strange place. No kids were eating cake, no one stopped to hear the music, and everyone needed nap time. Then he finally saw something familiar, so he followed. He had a good feeling about this place. He looked everywhere, and he could not find his friend. He climbed to the top of a tree and looked out, wishing and hoping his friend would come. But no one came. He thought about how far he'd come and how long he'd waited and felt very sad. Then he heard a noise below. Hello! There she is, and she has a picture for him. Her face was friendly and familiar, and there was something about her that felt just right. Look. At first, they weren't sure what to do. Neither of them had made a friend before, but after a little while, they realized they were perfect together. I'm Alice. Beekle. I'm Beekle. Hi, Beekle. Beekle and Alice had many new adventures. They shared their snacks. They told funny jokes. The world began to feel a little less strange. And together they did the unimaginable. And that is the end of Beekle, The Adventures of Beekle, the Unimaginary Friend. And thank you for listening.